Good afternoon. My name is Joshua Warrick, and I am pleased to serve you as Masters of Ceremony for our Eagle Court of Honor. Will all Scouts please come forward and remain standing? Before we begin our ceremony, I'd like to introduce a few special people. Wade Klassen and Mr. Bales, our former Scoutmasters. Bob Whitmire, our former committee chair. Mr. Pensis, our former advancement chair, who are all joining us today. I would like to remind all of you that there will be a reception honoring our new Eagle Scouts in the Fellowship Hall immediately following the ceremony. Now please rise for the invocation presented by Reverend Dr. Heimer, and remain standing for the presentation of the colors.
Dear God, our Heavenly Father, we thank you for this beautiful opportunity to be here today. We pray, oh God, for our troop 505 to lead the way. We thank you, God, that you have given us this opportunity, especially to know that the one promise that we have on honor, I will do my duty to God. Today we invoke your name. Oh, it's one of the laws that we have of being reverent. We begin in the name of our Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Amen. Color Guard, attention. Scouts, attention. Scout salute. Color Guard, advance. Color Guard, halt. Color Guard, prepare to post the colors. Post the colors. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. 2. Color Guard, reform. Color Guard, return to post. Color Guard, halt. Color Guard, at ease, audience at ease. You may be seated. I would like to invite Mr. Green to the lectern.
Now, if I could also have Mr. Evans join me. Take that one, I'll take this.
Good afternoon. I would like to welcome family and friends who have gathered today to celebrate a major milestone in the scouting careers of David Lax, Zachary Munger, Patrick Thomason, and Jonathan Warrick. While the journey to Eagle for each scout is unique, as each scout learns and grows, there are common characteristics he shares with others who have climbed this mountain. What has this journey taught the scouts who embark on this path? What does it mean to be an Eagle Scout? First and foremost, an Eagle Scout is an outdoorsman. He is an expert at camping, swimming, canoeing, and backpacking. He knows how to build a fire, to cook, and to find his way with a map and compass. He can build shelters, even bridges with ropes and what he finds around him.
He's at home with nature. He understands and appreciates God's creation and the responsibilities of stewardship. He knows his impact and how to care for the environment around him. An Eagle Scout embodies the Scout motto, be prepared. He's adept in first aid, knows how to lead, and what to do in emergency situations. He's a resource in times of need.
He is a good citizen. He understands his responsibilities, is knowledgeable about important issues, and is involved in his community and government. An Eagle Scout exhibits personal discipline. He understands finances, sets goals, and works hard to achieve them.
He understands the importance of being physically fit and the role it plays in being a dynamic leader. An Eagle Scout has a steadfast belief in God. He's active in practicing his faith and is aware of how it influences his daily walk. He's devoted to his family. So what is an Eagle Scout? He's a young man who is qualified to help others as well as take care of himself. His badge is not a decoration, but rather a symbol of knowledge and ability.
Becoming an Eagle Scout is a great accomplishment. Being an Eagle Scout bears a great responsibility. The Scout Oath and Scout Law take on new meaning. The motto and slogan take on new urgency. The Eagle's first obligation is to live with honor. He is a leader. For good or ill, people will follow the example he sets. He understands the importance of his reputation and good name. The white of the Eagle badge represents honor.
The Eagle Scout's second obligation is to be loyal. As a follower, he has promised to be loyal to those above him. As a leader, he must also be loyal to those below him, treating them as he would want to be treated. And he must be loyal to his ideals, not letting others sway him from his course. The blue of the Eagle badge represents loyalty. The Eagle's third obligation is to be courageous. His leadership will continue to face many new challenges and obstacles. A ship is safe in a harbor, but that's not what a ship is for. The Eagle Scout must reject passivity, accept responsibility, and lead courageously. The red of the Eagle badge represents courage.
The fourth obligation of an Eagle Scout is to serve others. For a leader is above all a servant. The practice of the daily good turn leads the eagle to a lifetime of service. He knows that only in giving himself to the service of others is value gained. The scroll on his badge represents service. The final obligation of an Eagle Scout is to have vision. As a leader, he must now blaze his own trail. Just as an eagle soaring high above the ground can look far into the distance, so too the Eagle Scout must look far into the future. Many people will follow him. His vision will lead them in the right direction. The silver eagle hanging from his badge reminds the Eagle Scout of this vision.
These are the obligations of the Eagle Scout: honor, loyalty, courage, service, and vision. Implementing these values in his daily life, he will lead his family, his troop, his business, and his community, leaving a legacy that will last long after he is gone. I'd like to invite Mr. Clausen, Mr. Munger, and Mr. Warrick to share a little about the path to Eagle for each of our scouts.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for being here. I guess before I get started, Mr. Starkey, can you stand up here, please? I saw him here in the audience. Oh, Mr. Starkey, can you stand up and say hello? So one thing all these Eagle Scouts have in common is they all have sat on the board for a board of review with Mr. Clarence Starkey. And Clarence is, in our district, you might be able to say it better than me, but you are in charge of overseeing the Eagle Scout candidates and seeing them through, doing the board of reviews and making sure that they get approved for Eagle. And making sure that they are approved for Eagle. He's actually really hard. Thank you, Ms. Starkey, for being here. All right. Well, we have our Eagle candidates, and David Lax is one of our candidates that's here for Eagle today. And David, when I was thinking about what to write about or what to think about, what to share, two things kind of came to mind. There's a lot of things I could say, but leadership was one, and the other is faith. One of the things I've always that you've always kind of emulated is leadership. You are a natural leader, and you were older than most scouts when you came into the troop. The first time I observed your leadership skills was well before you took responsibilities in our troop. This was actually several years ago when we were on our canoe trip down the Colorado River. As you remember, it was a wet and rainy spring day. The first day we had canoed many miles. We endured several showers, and we were looking for the elusive Scout Island where we could camp. Early in the day, we had canoed past a lot of good islands that would have made great places to camp. Well, we passed by all those. The sun was now going down. Our troop was getting both hungry and tired. Patience was wearing out. It was at this point that the group dynamics can go downhill fast. Honestly, this point is the first line between failure and personal growth, or in group dynamics, the point between storming and forming. You encouraged younger scouts to keep going and helped to keep up the attitudes of the older scouts. And later I learned that you had hurt your back, but your positive attitude was contagious and helped us on that tough day. You are also a leader outside of scouts. One morning, I ran into your class outside of Barton Springs, where I learned that you had just been crowned king of Barton Springs. You guys can find out more about what that entails, but I love seeing that crown in the front of the beast being driven around Austin after that. I also learned last week that you are, maybe a little bit to your parents' chagrin, you're a Bible study leader at Texas A&M, so congratulations on that. Make sure you're doing your homework. Which leads to your other attribute, your faith. I will call it's your faith and fun, because those two go together. For many, faith is something they tuck away and keep private. For you, though, faith is something that you express in everyday life. One example I remember is the morning on top of Old Baldy in Gardner State Park. There you led our troop worship service. While the sun was rising with a view you could see for miles, your words were sincere and inspirational as you led prayer, song, and sermon. You're also our chaplain during our 10-day backpacking trip at Philmont Scout Ranch, and your daily devotions kept our crew strong spiritually as our bodies were growing physically. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. Anyone who knows David knows he is anything but dull. Now, if you can combine play and working out, David is loving life. I remember Jonathan and Joshua saying, "Dad, we got to get to the scout meeting at 6:30. I am like, "Why? Scouts doesn't start till 7 o'clock. But David is starting the Muscular Christian Society, and we must meet there early for our workout." Okay, I'm thinking, I got to see this. Personal fitness exercises is not the scouts' favorite thing to do. We get there, and a good group of scouts are running and doing other exercises and enjoying it. I'm impressed. At the end of the meeting, at Circle Up, David all of a sudden gives a command, and suddenly the whole circle of scouts breaks into squats and lunges. Everyone is laughing and having a good time. I loved it. David and Jonathan both worked as swim coaches at Lifetime Fitness in their last year in Scouts, and our family was blessed to have David join us each Monday for dinner before Scouts. We shared a lot of good discussions. David, you have a great future ahead of you, and for your mom's sake, just take enough time to do your homework.
Zach Munger, this is your life. I think I just dated myself. Zach Munger started his scouting journey as a Tiger Cub in Pack 61. His first meeting was one of many pack events that were held at Dick Nichols Park, in which the new Cubs learned to do their best as they raced boats in rain gutters. During his Cub years, he enjoyed many campouts, fishing trips, Pinewood derbies, and cake bake-offs. As a Webelos Scout, Zach earned his Joyful Servant religious emblem, which required the planning and execution of 3 service projects. Impressed at Webelos Woods by the Troop 505 tradition of barbecuing an entire pig and promise of high adventure, Zach crossed over to Troop 505 with the rest of his Webelo Den in 2016. With other new scouts, they formed the original Bacon Ninja Patrol, promising to have bacon at every campout. Zach served as their first patrol leader. From the beginning, Zach was all about the physical challenges, whether it was completing the 50-mile Bastrop road biking or the 25-mile canoeing in San Marcos, marathon backpacking at Los Maples, trips to Big Bend and Lake Georgetown, or scuba at Florida Sea Base. He has enjoyed 2 treks at Philmont Ranch and is currently looking for any excuse to go back, even as a family adventure. One of the best things about Zach's scouting career is how he took the lessons and skills of scouting and developed them into additional life accomplishments. After completing his leatherwork merit badge, he used his granddad's leatherwork kit and added to it, and proceeded to make many other tooled pieces, including the official Troop 505 leather belt that he gave as gifts. Leadership and salesmanship opportunities, such as popcorn and mulch sales, helped encourage him to start several of his own ventures, including pet care, house sitting, a sunglasses business, and fixing up other automobiles for profit, and starting a disc golf club at his high school. Zach carried his swimming and first aid training toward becoming lifeguard and CPR certified. Working as a lifeguard then provided seed money for his first automobile. Very good. His fellow scouts encouraged him to advance his physical fitness training to focus on distance running, and he earned a place to compete in the Texas State cross-country meet in 2021 and 2022, placing 20th overall. And in the Texas State track meet in 2023, he placed 6th overall in the 3,200-meter run. Zach's Eagle Project contributed to refurbishing the picnic areas at Dick Nichols Park, which were the very areas he used for so many family outings and PAC 61 events over the years. So his Eagle Project, he came full circle at that park to improve the park where he was first introduced to scouting, which was probably very meaningful for you, Zach. And I remember that being your mentor, you were very serious about making sure that everything was going just right, and it did. Zach served in his troop in many ways, including patrol leader, webmaster, and Order of the Arrow representative, and served as his younger brother's Cub Den, with his younger brother's Cub Den as Den Chief. He has grown as a person and as a friend during his time in Troop 505. Zach's road to Eagle Scout included encouraging others towards fun, perseverance, and leadership, including good friends who are here with him today. After graduating from Bowie High School last spring, Zach signed and is now running for Texas A&M University, where he has started pursuing a degree in economics. No, we can't win them all. Zach Munger, this has been your life.
All right. Well, Patrick, gosh, have a lot of good memories of your time here in Scouts as well. And one of the things is when we were down at Sea Base, and I was thinking about the time that we were on the catamaran, and that we were about to enter a big squall. You, Jacob, Zach, and Jonathan decided that was a good time to go to the front of the boat, the bow of the boat, and feel the power of the storm. As the waves got high, the winds really picked up, The cold rain, they felt like needles when they hit you, I recall. I was in the cabin of the boat. And Mr. Spahn likes to recall how at the peak of the storm, you guys held up your fists and looked up in the sky and shouted, "Is this all you got?" Or maybe there was a time when you were scuba diving down in the bottom of the ocean. We were sitting on this, you sat down on the sea floor, and these giant nurse sharks came out. Do you remember that? And they would, the giant nurse sharks would kind of settle down, and they'd pet them like puppy dogs. It was the coolest thing. That was crazy. I recall like the marathon backpacking trip that you did around Lake Georgetown, and remember seeing you chase lobsters at night on a night dive in the dark waters. But the one thing that really stands out when I was thinking about your time in scouting is actually when you were senior patrol leader. I know that was actually kind of a tough time. Everything started off really good. I think everybody kind of remembers what happened a couple years ago. Right after spring break, COVID kind of set in. Well, right during spring break, Patrick was doing a week-long training at National Youth Leadership Training, which is a week-long training that teaches you how to run a troop. And so Patrick, being our senior patrol leader, was just psyched and ready to come back and do that. Also, about that same time, a few months before that, Jonathan had gone to do the training for the Powderhorn. And so he came back with a lot of great high adventure ideas. And so between Zach being trained as senior patrol leader and having a great program, we were super excited. And then COVID happened. Before we even really got a chance to do anything. I remember that the first thing we were doing is like, we didn't know it was going to last for a year at the time, right? It was just a couple weeks. So it's like, okay, we can kind of handle this. The other scouts, some of the scout masters got together and they're like, okay, we can do a Zoom meeting so we don't have to like skip meetings. And so Patrick, he led the Zoom meetings. And I know that those weren't the most fun things to do, but they did keep us meeting regularly. And then as we got into everything a little bit further and further, then all of a sudden like the state park started canceling our reservations to go camping. And we're like, oh my gosh, what's happening? We don't know what to do. What happened? Well, you got together as senior patrol leader with Jacob, Zach, and Jonathan, and you guys brainstormed about meeting every Saturday. And that turned out to be a pretty cool opportunity for us. We weren't allowed to meet officially, because officially we had to stay in our family units. I don't know if everybody remembers that. So we unofficially met to go bicycling at first, and then that kind of grew into mountain biking, disc golf, tennis, and even kickball. I think, Patrick, didn't you even take your love for disc golf, because we played so much of it during that time, back to Bowie and start a disc golf club? That was Zach? Okay, I wasn't sure which one of you guys it was, but I do recall you guys doing that. But that was a lot of fun, and we learned how to do a lot of things that way. One of the things that was a result of that was that we were able to kind of keep our troop together. So I have no doubt that you would have been a good leader for our troop in normal times. But when the world was literally upside down, your leadership kept us active and together. You took lemons and made lemonade. You, Patrick, were the leader we needed at the time that we needed it. Thank you for your service to the troop. And I'd like to read a little bit of his bio. So Patrick's voyage through scouting began in early 2013, where he became a Tiger Cub in Pac-12 with 10 other scouts. In that cafeteria, he met lifelong friends. One of those was Jacob Spahn, who he later crossed into Troop 505 with 4 years later. As Patrick advanced quickly up the ranks in Troop 505, he found himself attending larger events. In March of 2020, Patrick attended National Youth Leadership Training, where he learned the advanced ropes of servant leadership and the art of delegation while in a global pandemic solely engulfed our world. Patrick served numerous positions such as scribe, quartermaster, assistant senior patrol leader, and senior patrol leader for a combined time of leadership positions clocking in well over 1,000 days. He especially enjoyed attending Sea Base in 2021, in particular seeing a fellow Eagle Scout traverse out of an underwater cave which he and his oxygen tank were stuck. Patrick also remembers falling into extreme seasickness and throwing up off the side of the boat multiple times. But the more positive memories were of him and his friends in 2018, dominating a 12-man campsite race, creating 50-foot-high bonfires at the Whitmeyer's Ranch, canoeing through the vast rivers and lakes of Texas, and backpacking over 26 miles in one day to complete the Wilco Challenge. Later on Patrick's scouting journey in 2022, he tackled bigger tasks like improving the outdoor learning environment of his local elementary school and helping others complete their tasks and Eagle projects as well. In the upcoming year, Patrick will graduate from Bowie, go Dogs, class of 2024, and attend a four-year university. He has hopes of eventually starting and running his own business as well. Patrick remains fond of his memories with Troop 505 and continues to use the tools he learned over the course of all those years to make other people's life and his life more efficient and empowering. Thank you, Patrick.
Well, it's been my pleasure to be in Troop 505 with Jonathan for so many years now. And so I was really honored when he asked me a couple years ago to be his Eagle mentor, and that was really that was really exciting. And we had a few months left, and so we sat down and we met and kind of went through the things he had left to go for his Eagle rank, and then. Something I do just say, well, hey, next time we meet, could you bring a wall calendar? Could you find a wall calendar and bring it with you, and we'll kind of put some of these dates on. And he did. And the next time he met, he said, yeah, I brought a calendar. Let me show it to you. And he had put all the little requirements one by one on dates and spread them out. And I was just amazed. Most scouts don't do this kind of planning. The nth detail, most of the people I work with don't do that kind of planning in detail. And I was just fascinated and went to talk to his parents and said, oh yeah, he likes planning and scheduling. And I thought to myself, I was like, well, I should have realized that, because earlier on when he was, I think one of the first times he was a senior patrol leader, he came up with this really detailed plan of here's how we're going to get all of our scouts to first class rank. And we had these series of campouts, and Jonathan had planned, okay, by the hour, here's everything we're going to do. And he would call up the different scouts and say, I need you to teach this, or the adults to say, I need you to teach that. And as a result, our troop really advanced in rank as he planned. I think a lot of the scouts who have already made Eagle Scout and have moved on really benefited from those early days and your guidance. But aside from the planning, when I think about Jonathan, he is athletic. Some of you may not know, he's training for triathlons at the half Ironman distance. I think his best time now is 4:30, and that's really an amazing. I couldn't do even one of those things, and he goes and does all three of them to extreme distances. But we have had the pleasure of camping with him at Philmont twice now. And I was thinking, well, what are some of the things what are the cool conversations and things like that would have happened on the trail? I was like, well, I didn't really have a lot of those because the adults were here and all the youth were here. And I guess one of the occasions we would hear is to say, the adults would say, well, I hope they didn't put Jonathan in the front. because then we would be a ways to catch up with them. But one of the things we usually knew they weren't too far ahead is we would hear singing. And I think when Jonathan, after he came back from National Youth Leadership Training, had learned several of these songs, and so you would hear this group of boys just singing their to the top of their lungs as they're hiking along, and that was just great. It made the miles go by really quick. Jonathan is very musical too, and seen him. I guess there's a piano in the fellowship hall where we meet, and started as a younger scout. He would come and he would play the piano a little bit afterwards, and then, but it's the classics, and I recognized a few of them and say, okay, this is something you learn as an early student in piano, but then. The next thing I knew, he had advanced and playing, very, very more complex pieces that I recognized only because I've ever heard them in a concert hall or on a recording, and so that was just very beautiful that he can sit down at a piano and make beautiful music, and I know he works very hard and has disciplined himself to practice and practice and practice. And even so, at Philmont, they have a piano there at the dining hall. And the first time we went, he's like, "Should I play?" And so we had to encourage us, like, "Yeah, Jonathan, why don't you go ahead and play something?" And he did, and he sat down, and he just was amazing. The second time at Philmont, we had gotten our food, and there was somebody at the piano. And you can kind of look at Jonathan's, and he was good. And Jonathan's like, you could tell that he's just kind of eating his food. I was like, well, why don't you, when he's done, why don't you go, because he'd been playing a while, why don't you just let him know that you'd like a turn? So Jonathan goes up, and he stands. Can I have a turn? Didn't say a whole lot, but soon, and the other fellow, I think, kind of realized that he needed to give Jonathan a turn, and Jonathan just filled the whole room with beautiful Mozart and Chopin, and it was just amazing. And even in some of the backcountry camps, there are these old rickety pianos that have been out in the weather forever. And and I think we got to Poniel, and the rest of us are sitting down having a sarsaparilla, and he sits at the piano until I think they closed, and we had to go. But it was beautiful to take an instrument like that's been sitting in the weather for years and just can make beautiful sounds out of it. But another thing I really like about Jonathan is that he is a man of action. And a lot of times he was the senior patrol leader, and I was the scoutmaster, assistant scoutmaster on duty, and I could say, "Hey, Jonathan, could we do this?" And sure enough, it would be done. One of the things, we were at Black Mountain, we're 2 days from finishing our trek, and we're all tired, and we're trying to decide, do we go up this 8th mountain on our trek? And some of the guys wanted to, and he said, "Come on, I'll carry the extra water to this next dry camp." And so we go up this hill that's just feels like it was straight up, and then it rained on us, and it rained some more, and we never thought we would be done. But Jonathan and his crew were out there in the lead and leading the way, and I don't know where they find all that fortitude, but it's really amazing. I did have an opportunity to take him and the other boys to Waco for some disc golf a couple years ago, and there's this one hole where the path turns, and it makes a 90-degree turn, and there's a pond right there, and all of the discs went in the water. And well, goodness, what are we going to do? And the next thing we know, I'd had my back turned, and there was this splash. And it's like, what's going on? And Jonathan is in the water in November, retrieving the discs for his buddies and himself. And so you don't really know if he's going to do it, but he does it, and it turns out helping people. But that's one of the things that I really like about getting to work with him is that sees a need and fills the need, and there's not a whole lot of discussion about it. And so I hope that you'll continue to do that in your life and use your superpowers for the good of others, as you've learned in Scouts. A few things I did want to share with you all. Some things I've learned recently about Jonathan is that he is a 3rd-generation Eagle Scout, and he's named after his grandfathers, both of whom are here today. The Reverend Dr. Karl, who led our invocation, was a Boy Scout on Guantanamo Naval Base in Cuba. Dr. Heimer earned his Eagle rank not long before the conflicts with Fidel Castro led to forfeiting of his home and his moving to America. Jonathan's other grandfather, Papa John Warrick, understood the importance of the principles found in scouting, and he led the local Cub Scout pack and founded Boy Scout Troop 862 in Dallas, Texas. That obviously Mark was a part of, and John loves the outdoors and helping kids, and he always opened his garage and his tools and his truck and gave time to help Jonathan and his troop whenever it was needed. And so from 3 generations, that love of scouting has been passed down and instilled into him, so that Jonathan followed his brothers Max and Matthew, both of whom are here today too, into Troop 505, and he has been able to attend summer camps at Camp Hood in Mississippi and Camp Constantine at Possum Kingdom Lake. And Jonathan's enjoyed adventures of Canadian boundary waters and northern tier, and backpacked the Sangre de Cristo Mountains at Philmont, in New Mexico twice now and explored the Florida Keys while at sea base. So he has the triple crown of high adventure with Troop 505. And during his time in the troop, Jonathan served various leadership positions, patrol leader, assistant senior patrol leader, and senior patrol leader. And he has completed the week-long training courses for National Youth Leadership Training and Powder Horn High Adventure Training, and is a member of the Order of the Arrow. And so we've really been thankful for Jonathan's help over so many years. He has been willing to take the leadership roles and serve his troop sometimes when others were not willing or able to step up. But he has been able to, for many years, the troop has benefited from his leadership skills, where he has set the vision and the goals and the long-term planning of the troop. And so we're all really indebted to you, as we are to all four of you, for the gifts and the blessings you've been to this troop for so many years. Thank you.
I'm going to go off script a little bit here and pile on some more accolades. So David joined the troop not long after Vance and I did. David was my first SPL at becoming Scoutmaster. And really the thing that I tell the story all the time, and I know I embarrass you, but darn it, it's worth telling. His first camp out as a scout, I believe you were 15, he was there and Zach was there and a lot of the other scouts were there. And Zach was teaching him knots or first aid or whatever it was. And later that afternoon, David was teaching the new scouts exactly the same thing. And I looked at that and it's like, that's exactly what scouting should be, is learning something and then wanting to pass it on as soon as you can and as soon as you have a grasp of whatever subject is. So Zach, most of your scouting adventures happened before we joined the troop. A lot of that can be blamed on COVID because we lost a year or so there. But I know that the two things I really remember about you is that bringing David into the troop, you recognized a friend, you had fun in scouting, you thought your friend would too, both of you got on Trailer Eagle and you both achieved it. So that's one thing. The other thing is that you took a love and a passion for a park that you did a lot of stuff with and turned that into your Eagle project. And I love seeing Eagle projects that start with a passion for something and then you help the community. So Patrick, as you was pointed out earlier, you were the first SPL during COVID. And as Vance and his patrol, the Mustache Brigade joined, because you insisted on having those meetings, even if it was on Zoom, then got us out as soon as we could, those scouts stayed on. They could have very easily stopped doing scouts because it was kind of hard. I talked to other scouts and other parents and other leaders and other troops. We were almost unique in the fact that we were meeting from almost day one after COVID started. So that goes to you, and good kudos to you on that one. And then Jonathan, you were our SPL coming out of COVID. And I remember the main thing about you being SPL is your love of fun and insisting that we have it at every opportunity. And scouting should be fun. I mean, otherwise it's just boring. You learn these things through a fun method. So that was good for you. And then of course, as pointed out earlier, your love of music. And I don't know how many troop meetings afterwards were you on the piano there. I remember there was one Scout Sunday where you were playing that piano right there during the service. So your love of music, everyone appreciates that. So that's my 2 cents worth on these 4 scouts. Three of which were kind of well on their way by the time that we joined the troop. So we got to see the new and improved version as opposed to the 11-year-old version. And those were good versions. So it's now time for the highlight of our program, the presentation of the Eagle Scout Award. Well, the Honor Guards, Gabe Ward, Jacob Spahn, Max Warrick, Robert Whitmire, and Andrew Wolf, please escort the Eagles candidates forward. We rehearse this a lot. Yep. Being an Eagle Scout is not the end of a journey, it's the beginning. As Eagle Scouts, you have far greater responsibilities than before. To present the Eagle Charge, I'd like to invite Mr. Matthew Warrick forward. Matthew earned the rank of Eagle Scout in Troop 505. He's a graduate of Texas A&M, class of 2022, and now works as a project engineer for White Construction. While in Troop 505, Matthew developed a passion for adventure, including backpacking, which led him to complete through hikes of both Appalachian and Pacific Coast trails, totaling more than 5,000 miles. And I cannot tell you how many times I've heard that story. It sounds awesome.
Thank you. I have the honor of giving you the Eagle Charge on the occasion of the elevation to the highest award in scouting. The Scouts of all nations constitute one of the most meaningful and significant movements in the world's history. You have been judged by the Boy Scouts of America as being worthy of this honor. All who know you rejoice in your achievement. Your position, as you well know, is one of honor and responsibility. You are marked men. As Eagle Scouts, you have assumed a solemn obligation to do your duty to God, country, to your fellow Scouts, and to mankind in general. This is a great undertaking. As you live up to your obligations, you bring honor to yourself and to your brother Scouts. America has many good things to give you and your children after you, but these things depend on, for the most part, on the quality of her citizens. Our country has had a great past, and you can make it an even greater future. I charge you to undertake your citizenship with solemn dedication. Be a leader, but only lead towards the best. Lift every task you do and every office you hold to the highest level of service to God and to your fellow man. So live and serve, that those who know you will be inspired to finer living. We have too many who use their strength and their brains to exploit others to selfish ends. I charge you to be among those who dedicate their skills and abilities to the common good. Build America on a solid foundation of clean living, honest work, unselfish citizenship, reverence for God, and whatever others may do, you will leave behind you a record of which every Scout may be justly proud. I would like all Eagle Scouts in the audience to stand at this time and rededicate themselves by repeating the Eagle Scout promise with our new Eagle Scouts. Please make this Scout sign and repeat after me. I reaffirm my allegiance to the three promises of the Scout Oath. I thoughtfully recognize and take upon myself the obligations and responsibilities of an Eagle Scout. On my honor, I will do my best to make my training an example, my rank and influence count strongly for better scouting and for better citizenship in my community and in my contact with other people. To this I pledge my sacred honor. 2. Your conduct thus far along the trail this far has been excellent, but today does not mark the end of the trail, but the start of a new chapter. As Eagle Scouts, you become a guide to other Scouts. You become an example to your community. Remember that your actions are now a little bit more conspicuous, and that people will expect more from you. To falter in your responsibility would reflect on not only you, but your fellow Eagles and all of Scouting. The torch you carry is not only yours, but is ours and the other Eagle Scouts. Thank you.
Okay, Eagle candidates, why don't we spread out a bit across here, because we're about to get a lot of people up here. We need some space. There we go. Will the honor guards please escort each Eagle Scout's parents forward and stand aside the candidates for the presentation of the Eagle Award. Yeah, right there's fine. David, Zach, Patrick, and Jonathan. Your parents have undoubtedly been your primary source of help and strength. I'd like to thank you, John and Consuelo, James and Deanna, Karl and Rebecca, Mark and Laura, for your devotion and care you've given to each of your sons throughout his journey and years in scouting. David, Zach, Patrick, and Jonathan, no one will ever know the unnumbered acts of self-sacrifice of your mothers, both in scouting and otherwise. I'd like each of your mothers to pin the Eagle medal on your uniform. So, honor guards, if you could go get those pins for the mothers. And honor guards, once you've given the mothers a pin, if you would go get the mother's pin. Okay, Scouts, if you'd please pin the mother's pin onto your mother's blouse. And honor guards, if you'd please go get their neckerchiefs. Okay. The troop would like to present each of you with an eagle neckerchief and slide. Honor guards, if you would please replace the troop neckerchief with the eagle neckerchief and slide. Okay, and honor guards, if you please get the father's pin now. And as they're doing that, Scouts, your father has been the source of much advice, sometimes taken, sometimes not, and guidance along the Eagle Trail. So David, Zach, Patrick, and Jonathan, please present your father with the Eagle lapel pin. Okay. This is where it starts to get a little bit crowded up here. The Scouts would like to present an Eagle lapel pin to the Eagle mentors. Honor guards, if you'd please bring forward Mr. Wade Clausen. Other Eagle mentors included Mr. Munger and Mr. Warrick, who are already up front. Also, Patrick would like to recognize Mr. Scott Weisslar, who is traveling and cannot attend today. So Scouts, if you go ahead and present those mentor pins to your mentors. Jonathan, Zach, and Patrick would like to present a grandparent's pin to their grandparents at this time. So honor guards, please bring forward Mary Thomason, Dan and Linda Munger, Reverend Karl and Jeanette Heimer, and John and Mary Warrick. And mentors, if you would please get those grandparent pins and bring them over. I'm sorry, not mentors, honor guards, sorry. So while they're doing this, I've been at a lot of courts of honors and Eagle Courts of Honors in my time, both as an adult and as a scout. And everyone does it a little bit differently. One of the things that I'm really loving about their ceremony today is first of all, 4 really good friends wanting to get their award on the same day. Second thing that I'm really enjoying and liking is the fact that you're seeing a large group of people that supported and helped these scouts get to where they are. They earned it on their own, but these are the folks who supported them primarily. So let's give everyone up here a round of applause, please. And now it gives me great pleasure to present to you Troop 505's newest Eagle Scouts, David John Lax, Zachary Munger, Patrick Andrew Thomason, and Jonathan Karl Warrick. So, parents, grandparents, and Eagle mentors, you may be seated. And I'm sorry, honor guards as well. Okay, at this time, each of the scouts would like to share a few words. So David, let's start with you. And then let's just go down the aisle.
Alrighty. Well, first, I'd like if y'all could join me in prayer and say thanks to God. So, dear God, thank you for the environment and opportunity provided through this troop. Thank you for everybody here. Amen. All right, and now to Mr. Canton. Thank you for always being eager to help me with merit badges. So, I don't see Mr. Clare here, but he was a big role model in my... Hi, Mr. Clare. There we go. So, Mr. Clare, thank you for being a big role model in my time in scouting, in the way that you plan and coordinate things, and also just how comfortable you are in the outdoors. Mr. Cassidy. Well, Mr. Cassidy was another role model of mine, and he was always an encouragement along my path to Eagle, and through just like my future goals, talking about his nonprofit that he started, and just things like that, a great encouragement. Mr. Ellison, another great encouragement along my path to Eagle, and just showing his business, like through the logo making of our troop, helped me a lot along. Yeah. Mr. Evans, he is here today. Thank you for being just a lighthearted leader. I was thinking about my times in the troop, and whenever I thought of you, like every conversation I've had with you, you've had a smile or laughing, so thank you. Miss Huslig, thank you for all the work you've done behind the scenes for the troop. We truly appreciate it, and it's an important role. Mr. Reeves, thank you for serving as the connection from the troop to the church. And then just, encouraging me along my path to Eagle. I remember you telling me that I can do it and all that, telling me about your time in college swimming, all that. Also, all the staff at this church, they helped me a lot. Sometimes I would forget things at the meetings and then have to come back the next morning, knock on the door. They'd let me in. And then to the funniest adult in the troop, and the father of a great friend who has the exact same sense of humor. Thank you, Mr. Spawn, for making campouts fun and making Philmont a blast. To the parents of one of my other great friends who consistently checked up on my progress to Eagle, thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Warrick. I meant Munger. Well, both work. Zach, thanks for inviting me to the troop and then going on adventures all the time. Patrick, thank you. First camp out, we had a blast. Jonathan, you're a muscular Christian. What can I say? Keep it up with everything. Very disciplined young man. And then, I don't see him here today, but somebody who is a leader, a scout leader who's very wise and pretty serious, but when you can make him laugh, you know that what you said must have been really funny. Mr. Schleicher, he's always been there to tell me, like, if what I'm doing is good or if I need to change it, and his wisdom is unmatched. And then to Mr. Green, who placed an emphasis on planning during my time as senior patrol leader, something I really needed. When I was elected to that office, I'd never had a voting position on the Patrol Leaders Council. So I got in thinking that I could just lead it, doing whatever I wanted, like from the hip, just. But after the first meeting, he pulled me aside. He was like, we got to do a little bit, got to get planning. And that's something that I've taken to heart in everything that I do now. I try to plan ahead. Any plan is better than no plan. So thank you for that. And then to Miss Warrick, thank you for telling me about Pause Shelter of Central Texas. That's where I did my Eagle project. And thank you for making me feel like family over at your house on Mondays. And then for feeding me food that I know Jonathan wishes that he could have eaten, but thank you. And then the man with the iconic and contagious laugh, very relaxed, but always in control, my Eagle mentor, Mr. Warrick. Thank you for helping me navigate the long path to Eagle in a swift but relaxed manner. I couldn't have done it without you. Thank you. And then to all my fellow scouts that are here, thanks for making the troop a great environment over the past couple of years. You can learn a lot of things within scouting. You get as much from it as you put into it, so I'd encourage you to take up leadership positions, which many of you guys are already doing, so keep doing what you're doing, keep working hard. And now I have three things that I've kind of learned from my path to Eagle, 3 realizations for success is what I call them. And one, it's a little bit silly. It's like reframing hard things as easy. This is something I did throughout sporting, throughout scouts and school. I can get like the clearest examples through sporting. Like swim sets. My coach would give me something really hard. Didn't know if I could do it. I would just tell myself, this is easy, and then I would get started. And then your body just takes over. Like you get the mental block out of your head. You go forward, you get started, you get it done, and then you realize that it was easy. Then the next hard thing that you have to do, just the same thing, and then everything just keeps on getting, even though it's hard, like it still is hard, but you just don't accept it as being hard. and then it gets out of your way and it's easy. Next would be that good things take time. I've always wanted to jump to the exciting things of all activities, like where the action takes place, whether it's actually leading, not like the planning, that's boring to me. I didn't think about how good and how important that was. The presenting part, I mean, that's tied into planning. That's like the action part of leading, but making, like actually up here talking is the part that I wanted to be in, not the planning aspect of that. Racing, I didn't necessarily want to be at practice. I wanted to be at the races. I always wanted to jump ahead to the active part of whatever activity I was doing, and then coming in with racing, the winning part of the race, like that's the best part of the race. So I felt that if I wasn't actively doing whatever the activity was, if I wasn't at the end stage, then it was just like nothing. But through scouting, over these years, my mindset has shifted because I've learned that the stuff that leads up to the end result is the most important part. The end result is just like a moment in time. It's a testament to what you've done while working there. So you can't have these great achievements or perfect leadership or whatever it is that you want without working hard towards that success. And appreciating the preparation, like the brutal moments in practice or studying hard, is what really is the game changer. It's not glorified, but when you get down and appreciate it, then everything will start to click. So another thing is, like, in our society right now, we're just, like, in video games or on TV, it's all action. That's probably what, like, formulates most people's ideas of, like, instant gratification and all that. But we have to understand that, like, this is real life. Real life takes some time. Things go a little bit slower, but you have unlimited opportunities, and you should take advantage of them. The third step in, I guess, this mindset shift was that integrity does not exist, which is a little bit of a, like, that alone doesn't sound super wise. Like, integrity, just doing what's right when nobody's watching, but somebody is always watching. You have, like, God always knows what you're doing. So when you start aligning your will to God's will, that's when things start going good. And I mean, maybe it's not good to what you thought you wanted, but that's what God wants for you. So, and I think we all know what that is. And if you don't, then you can read the Bible, pray about it. That's all good things to do. Find His will, follow His will. We'll be set. Thank you.
Thank you, David, our minister. I've looked forward to this day for a long time. You know, when I first came into the troop, I think one of the first things that I participated in was a court of honor, and I just wondered about what my Eagle Court of Honor would be like, and it seems so far away. But now here we are, and there's been a lot of people that have helped me get here. And David said a lot of the stuff that I was going to say, so I guess it's good that I didn't really spend too much time planning. But I can just change it. So I have a few things written down. Surprisingly enough, you can tell that we, both of us, usually like to skip to the action. Okay, so I would like to speak to the scouts that are here today and just share a little bit about my journey and what I've learned. So a long time ago, which feels like yesterday, somebody shared an analogy with me. I like to think of it as the forge analogy. You know, we do a lot of blacksmithing and stuff. We've done that at Philmon and other campouts, and so that's something that stuck with me. But basically what this person told me was that life is like a forge, and And so you get put in the fire. And then you're just like, it's pain and suffering, and you're in the fire. And you're just starting out. And you're just like a raw piece of metal. And you haven't been shaped yet. But then you get pulled out of the fire. And then somebody takes a hammer, and they hit you really hard, a lot of times. And they don't stop. And then they stop hitting you with a hammer, and then you just feel like, wow, like I somewhat resemble a sword, maybe. And then you go back in the fire. And you get taken out of the fire. And you get hit again and again and again. And just when you think that, the hammering is done, you go straight back in the fire. And that is the journey. And I learned, over time, that the fire is a good thing, because the fire is what shapes you as a person. And all the campouts and all the hiking and running and all that kind of stuff, just feeling lonely at night, really just made me understand that the journey is the most important part. And the more fire you can get, it's just God showing you that you're not ready yet. And so if you're going through the fire, it's just, you're going to be stronger at the end of it. So let's see, what else do I have? Okay, I need to thank adults, family, friends for the support. Yes. Okay, I can't talk about myself forever. But yeah, just every time I was in the fire, there's always been somebody. Mr. Clare has been somebody that has always been encouraging. Mr. Klassen, my Eagle mentor, my parents, my grandparents, they've always just made sure I was doing okay. And they never really, told me what direction I should go, but they sort of let me figure it out. And I really appreciate everyone's patience and just the support of the community. And we've said a lot of thank yous today, so I feel like that's good. And then the last thing I wanted to say was that, and David touched on this, so every day in your actions, there's always somebody watching. And something I learned just running, because a lot of you know that I spend most of my time running when it's not at Scouts or whatever. And it's just a constant battle in your head. And so what I learned after my running career up until this point was that somebody's always watching. They're watching everything that you do. And so in whatever you do, do it to the best of your ability, because it'll come back for better or worse. So thank you.
I actually came prepared with a speech, but I'll kind of go down a little bit. But it's all recap that there's been a lot of people who've played a huge role in where I'm at today, and then I've taken some careful considerations out of the things that have happened in the past 12 years. And the biggest takeaway from Scouts that I've had is you have to be able to do what you can when you can. So I see even just a lot of people coming into the troop. When you come into the troop, it's very easy to let hours, days, months, and then eventually years pass by before you can actually make any progress, or you're in the meantime of making progress. But the biggest thing to do is do what you can when you can, because I was able to do that from the start and not get choked up with the smaller stuff earlier on. So it was a little bit easier for me because I already had some momentum. Kind of going along with the troop, I got to first class pretty quickly, and that was something that I'm congratulated for, and I'm happy that everybody has done their part in that, my life for that, especially Mr. Warrick, who helped me get there, Mr. Klassen, my dad, obviously, a lot of people. The next thing is, I'd like to thank Mr. Garcia and Ms. Thomason for being out here today. You guys have played a huge positive impact in my educational career so far, and you guys have made me realize that my dreams aren't too big, and I actually can accomplish what I want to do with hard work and time. And Mr. Weishauer, who's not here today, unfortunately, Mr. Warrick, Mr. Klassen, you guys have helped me realize that those goals that were years ahead of me can be accomplished, and now they're years behind me. So thank you guys for that. A little about you guys. Zach, you're a great dude. You always got some intrusive thoughts. They win a lot of the times, but it is what it is. David, you're a really solid dude, so you're always there for everybody, no matter what happens. You're there through thick and thin. and we can all count on you. And Jonathan, one thing about Jonathan is you have a very slow temper. So I've only seen you mad a few times. I've known you for like 6 years too. But if you see Jonathan mad, that means you've really done something wrong, and he's mad for that. But he keeps his cool. He's always chill and he's always there, and like we can always count on you for that. Like in times where we've been hiking and like everybody starts arguing with each other, or like moments at T-Base and stuff, Jonathan's always there to just like be cool, be the mediator. So I appreciate you guys for that. Special thanks to my father for always encouraging me along the way and to keep chipping away at it. There's been a lot of times where I've kind of wanted to give up necessarily and not really show up to that troop meeting or really do that responsibility as an SPO. My dad was kind of like, look, you have this responsibility. You can either choose to live up to it or not, you know? I mean, I'm not gonna push you all the way, but you have responsibilities and you need to be able to do that stuff on your own. So thank you for that. Thank you for Mr. Pinces for all the photos. He's snapping away over there. And that's pretty much all I have to say. So the journey's been long, but times like this, it's a lot of happiness and relief. So thank you all for being here today, and pass it over to Jonathan.
Scouting has rewarded me with a love for God's creation, mentorship through Scoutmasters, many close friends, and an introduction into the world of leadership and communication. I'll never forget camping in a thunderstorm, hiking out into the woods to dig a cat hole with the view of Baldy Mountain lit up by the sky with flashes of lightning in the background. Or when my crew and I was running down from Emery Peak at Big Bend National Park, being chased by mountain lions in the dark to set up our camp. Or when my crew was scuba diving at Seabase and my regulator came out in a cave. These memories and countless others have rewarded me with a love for exploring the outdoors, in which I'm always eager to return to the wilderness for more. Along the way, the boundaries of what I thought I was capable of were pushed. Just a few weeks ago, I and a crew of fellow scouters set out on a 7-day fast through the desolate boundary waters in the Crownlands of Canada, canoeing over 100 miles for our food, fishing for our food along the way. Just by looking around this room, I see so many of the people who have shaped and formed the person I am today. I truly would not be the person I am before you right now without all that each and every one of y'all have invested into my life. Mr. Munger, thank you for mentoring me up to the rank of Eagle Scout. I would not have gotten up to this recognition if it wasn't for your patience, persistence, and guidance. And Mr. Spahn, your sense of humor has always brought a smile to my face, no matter in which situation. Mr. Whitmire, for your generosity in letting us use your land, being able to camp on it, use the resources for building monkey bridges, and also backing up and making any of my dreams while in a position of leadership become a reality. And my coaches, Natasha, for keeping me physically strong and lighting me on fire for athletics in general and overall health. And my parents for bringing me into this world, raising me into the wilderness from a young age. I wouldn't be a scout if it wasn't for you. And finally, my grandparents for coming all the way from El Paso to celebrate this day with me. And my fellow Eagle Scouts, I've had a blast on the scouting journey, and I hope to keep on camping with y'all. It's been fun. Thank you.
Some things actually slipped my mind, and that kind of ties back to planning. There were some things that I did not write down because I thought they were so important that I would remember them. But yeah, it's like, I guess an analogy for planning would be like in football, it's college football season, so you have like a game, like you have plays, the coach and all that, but like if you try to run a no huddle, you can like just forget stuff, and like you can mess up. So very important things that I did not say in my previous thank you speech, but incredibly important people like my mom. She was the one that pushed me throughout the entire thing. My dad, he was there. My dad's an engineer, so whenever I'd like something for my Eagle project, dimensions or something was kind of weird, he would walk me through it, sometimes using terms that were kind of more complex or like kind of hard to understand, but that's just how he explained stuff, but I got it. Yeah, it was great. My family in the back there and over here, they've been involved with Boy Scouts throughout their families too, and I could just call on them for support. They'd be there for me. They're talking about like Philmont, packing lists, all things like that. My two godparents in the middle there, Gene and Stephanie Arnold, Gene Arnold, my godfather, helped me on a merit badge. He was my golf merit badge counselor, a skill that I'd never, I went to Topgolf once before that, but now I'm going to sign up for the PGA Tour. And then mis abuelos, me quieren y los quiero. So, thank you.
Hey, thanks all of you for allowing me to be part of your scouting adventure and to be part of this important day for you. Y'all go ahead and take your seat. Now, to conclude our ceremony, I'd like to invite the Reverend Karl to come forward and give us our benediction and closing prayer. If anyone please rise. Now, our master of ceremonies, Joshua Warrick, please close our ceremony. And by the way, to all the Warricks here, I worked really hard to not slip in a second W into your name today.
Color Guard, attention. Scouts, attention. Color Guard, advance. Color Guard, halt. Color Guard, retrieve the colors. Retrieve the colors. Scout salute. Color Guard, return to post. Color Guard, halt. 2. Color Guard at ease, audience at ease. This concludes our Eagle ceremony. Pictures will be taken in the sanctuary Please enjoy all the refreshments in the fellowship hall.